change of position. Please welcome Sean Dyche.
Viewing, it must be a quiet person.
Okay, for anyone unaware, this press conference is going to be in two parts. First part is about welcoming Sean and questions about his arrival at the club, and then the second part is previewing FC Porto, and as you know, Ryan Yates will be joining us for that. Okay, Anton from Sky Sports News.
Thanks very much, Steve. First off, I suppose, the usual question you ask any manager is, how does it feel to be at the club? But considering your history with the club and the backroom staffs, this must be a special night.
Well, the briefing I was meant to be doing today was actually for Aqua Credit, because I did an online advert for them. That was planned for today. So I had to cancel that. Somewhat, yeah, well, part of the job. No, it's true. I had to let them know that I wouldn't be available for that, so I'm pleased to say I am available to be Nottingham Forest football manager and be here today.
That smile seems like it's been on your face for the last couple of days. Is that the case?
Well, I just think, I was explaining on our own TV yesterday that, I've got a longer history with the club from an apprentice, which some people might know or they don't, from 87 to 90, apprentice young pro, and you never think when you start off in them days, all I wanted to do was play in the first team. You're walking down the river with Del Boy running past you and the voice of Brian Clough in earshot, let's say, and all the legends that played at that time, and there were some top players, and you're thinking you just want to put the shirt on, and then to round the circle and be here as manager is something quite big for me, and I take pride in that. And so do my staff. Obviously, we've all been touched by Nottingham Forest down the years. Billy Mercer, even he was on loan here. Tony made a couple of appearances, scored a goal. I was explaining yesterday. Estonian and Woney speak for themselves. They were in the last European match, I think. Played in it. So, they've got a deeper history than me. But obviously, it's fast forward, considerably different club nowadays. But yeah, to be here, I take great pride in being announced as Nottingham Forest manager.
See, Forest was the third permanent manager of the season. Was there any sort of doubt in your mind about taking this job, considering what's happened in the last few weeks?
No, I mean, I was out of a job, but that wasn't really part of it. I got a call, would I speak to him? And it was pretty much thinking it's a yes before you speak to him, but things still have to be right, they're nowadays contracts and all that. But no, it's not about that. It's not about the past, I'm sure you'll know, I don't question other managers. Everyone has their own style. It's not an easy job. The club made a decision, and that was for me to try and imprint my way of working and hopefully a successful way of working on the club, and that's my focus now.
The previous manager only lasted a few weeks. Again, does that come into your mindset? In terms of if you don't get short-term success, would that be a... No,
I think the way football's changing, it can be across the board when changes are made quicker. I think that's just the nature of what we're all in. All managers understand it. Like I said, I'm not here to question the ex-manager or the decisions. I'm here to move forward, with the football club. There's nothing to do with me. I respect all managers. Whether it's Ange Nuno had a terrific season. Coops, who probably played a big part in starting this journey. But down the years, I still see Frank Clark and Paul Hart and people like that. Paul Hart, an amazing group of young players here, and I used to play against them. And then Frank had some great success here. There's loads of people. I respect them all. It's not about one situation that didn't go as well. What about others that did? So I just want to bring my part to it, and play my part in the rich sort of history of a football club like this.
Ambition is the word that surrounded this football club for most of the season. How difficult is it going to be to meet the expectations by going deep in Europe and sort of, doing well in the Premier League, considering where the club is now, and I presume by the confidence level?
It is a challenge, but a lot of the hype behind it, yourself, that it's only 4 seasons ago, the first time they came out, they had to really push right the way to the end of the season to maintain Premier League status. Second season was tight as well, a few points and stuff that went through myself at Everton. Forest went through a similar thing, and they stayed up. And then one season catapults the whole feeling, it changes. I'm not doing it down. Fantastic season, by the way, for all around this place. Fans, players, the club, the owner, everyone. And the press as well. I think everyone enjoyed that season. But, it doesn't give you a divine right. And I think the club know, I think the fans know that. I think deep down, of course, they want the glory days to come back. But it's still not a given. You don't just go into each season, you are bona fide a top Premier League club, or bona fide going to win Europe. It's not like that. I've been in it a long time. On the other hand, of course, you've got to be open-minded. What can be achieved? Because if you're not open-minded, they wouldn't have done what they did last season. But I marvelled at some of the work they did last season. Make no mistake, I've told the players that. Now can we just add our bit to it? Can we find a consistent way of working that continues to bring successes of whatever kind it is? Obviously, it's a different success at the moment. We've got to get back to winning ways, I think people know the stats, I won't bore them with it, but they weren't winning at the end of last season, particularly, and maybe ran out a bit of steam. It's a big season, and all the enormity that comes with that. And it hasn't been a great start this season, we understand that. So there was a few signs there about what was needed and the changes, and I've got to look at that, but then look at what the good group, I think there's a very good group here, and a very talented group. And they've certainly over last season shown the will and desire to be a very good group and show to the world they're a good group. Now we've got to reignite that, and make sure it's intact going forwards.
Talk about the group. It's a big group. You've got a big squad. And, those £120 million worth of players, not even in the matchday squad on Saturday. How difficult is it going to be to keep everyone happy, and while you're making your decisions about who you want to play, who you trust, and certainly players properly?
That's part of the job. It's part of the responsibility. I've already said to them, you can only pick 11. That's the truth of being a manager, and trying to keep the players who could be, they have to be ready at any time, and I've also promoted that thinking, because football careers change very, very quickly. They can change on someone else's misfortune. It could be an injury, it could be someone's banned for a few games, or someone's dropping form, and their careers can change very quickly. So keeping them motivated to stay fit and well and be ready for the challenge if it comes their way, then that's always a challenge in football. But that is part of being a manager and part of being a good staff. But treating people with respect, treating them with honesty, I've found that that's served me pretty well throughout my managerial career, and I'll certainly be treating these with respect and honesty.
Thanks, Anton. Owen, BBC.
Hi, Sean. Good to
Hiya.
speak to you. You've spoken about your passion for the club. How do you think you'll feel when you walk out of the City ground and hear Mulligan?
There's still a job to be done. I'm pretty much flatlined through success and failure. Everyone will know that. Don't get too high with the highs, too low with the lows. I've had both. But no, it is a tingle up your spine. I mean, I've been here the last few years, and I must say the Forest, the team obviously show what they can show, but the fans here have been amazing, I think, the last few years. I mean, I've been here, even as the opposing manager, I've been here as a supporter, and the club, as a manager, but come in my local support. And, they've always been very kind to me here, when I come out of work and I come watch the games. But they've built an atmosphere, but that's a lot of credit to the fans as well. They've built an atmosphere here, and it's important because it made it a really tough place over the last few years to come and win games here. I know that as being an opposing manager. So to add that to it, and that noise and the feeling, of course, there'll be a little bit more tingle in me. That's a human response. But I'm aware there's a job to be done. I'm not just here for a fun time, to round my career and go, oh, well, I went back to Nottingham Forest. That's not the case. I know there's a job to be done, and that's what I'm really focusing on, taking the club forward the best I can and the best my staff and the players can do, and giving the fans more of the good stuff that they've had recently.
What we saw of training today looked quite fun, quite enjoyable. But what's going on with the piggybacks? I think we've seen it with you before.
Well, didn't quite get on as well as I thought, because you shout mount, and a few of them thinking, what's that mean? So that was interesting. They knew what it meant by the end of it, though. No, they just, look, they've had a lot on. Whatever people think of players, they still feel it. They still feel the change, the media change, the social media change. In fact, things haven't gone as well as they'd liked and the club had liked and all the rest of it. So we're just trying to break it a little bit, make them realise we're all human, we're all in it together, get a good atmosphere before we start with the serious stuff. I can assure you, after the bit that you filmed, there was a lot of serious work done this morning, a tactical overview, but we are cramming it. We've got 2 days to cram it all in and before the first game, and then we've got to cram it again for the next game, and the first few weeks are going to be like that, but that's often the way it is. So, yeah, trying to cram a lot of information into short periods, but still have a smile on your face. Want the players to come in and look forward to coming in. That's a big part of how we work. I always have done. Not everything can be blissful for you, but you've got to look forward to what you do, your profession. You've got to come in looking forward to it. So we want to make it a very serious place in the sense of the work that gets done, but we can have a laugh and we can have a bit of fun along the way as well.
Thank you. Pablo for ITV, please.
Sean. We saw the club put out a statement yesterday saying that the current squad is closely aligned with your way of playing. Is that the way you see it?
Well, I'll learn about the players, obviously. There's a few new signings. Some of the other players I've known, obviously, from the last couple of seasons. A few new signings. It's different when you're watching a game analytically than when you actually work with players. There's some players who you think weren't as good as they are, and then they are better, often. and the other way around. It can be like that when you're working up close and personal with them. What we've noticed so far, I think the quality here, I think there is a good spirit amongst them. It's maybe just been pressed down a little bit by all the noise and then won games. Let's face it, winning doesn't cure everything, but it goes a long way to making that feel-good factor for everyone concerned. And some of the things that feel quite big when you're winning feel smaller. And I think it enhances it if you're not. So I think trying to sort of take that feeling away as much as anything and sort of say, look, to the players, there's some real quality here. That's what I've noticed. The idea to what we've got to try and do is find the balance of the framework that which works so well for them, but the freedom to go and attack and score goals and maybe open up when we can. And that's a tough balance to find. Everyone thinks it's as easy as me just saying that. It's not. Because if it was, everyone would do it. So getting the culture, getting the environment, how we like it, but also the performances, but building on a really solid base they've had not so long ago, but also the freedom to go and play and hopefully go and score goals and excite the crowd. That's the ideal nirvana moment, but we've got to find that.
I think we all got a really good insight into the way you see the game during the FA Cup final, when you kind of successfully predicted exactly how Palace would score against.
I can't be honest, I got a lot on that one. I can't tell you.
It literally happened to a team.
Palace fans were happy.
Later. Yeah, you said, I think City were being really aggressive with their press. You said Palace need to hit the ball to Mateta, surround him, get the second balls. Is that what we can expect to see with you as Forest manager? That's
no, it's too easy. It's too easy, but there's nothing wrong with it. If you can play forwards, why not? Last season had great success here playing forwards quickly, so why wouldn't you? You've seen this season, I'm sure you all have seen the way the stats are changing. Excuse me. More longer balls this season, the first time in 10 years, I think it is. More long passes, more long balls, whatever you want to call it. Of course, when other teams do it, it's long passes. When I've done it in the past, it's been long balls. We all know that. I joke about it, but it's real. Look, we want to play effectively. We've got to try and play effectively because we've got to get back to winning. Right, that's the start point. No point in me telling you we're all going to play like, I don't know, Spain when they won the World Cup. It's not that easy because you've still got to penetrate and you've still got to score goals and you've got to win. So how many different ways can we try and win? How many different styles can we find? They found a style that was very successful. Can we build on that and alter it slightly to maybe open up and use some of the skill level of the players slightly differently? We'll see. But there has to be a base to work from. And the players are aware of that, by the way. It took a lot of feedback from the players, not just me speaking to them. They were very proud of what they did last season and the way they did it, and there's no problem for me because I agree with them. Now, can we maybe mould it slightly differently, but keep that winning mentality? There's going to be a work in progress. It's not like you can't just flick a switch, but they've got it in them because they've already shown it, and now it's trying to maybe just twist it and turn it and find a balanced way of being effective. Long ball, short ball, it's got to be effective football, and that will never go out of fashion, by the way. I've seen enough fashionistas coming in and out of this division in the 11 or so years I've been a Premier League manager, certainly just in the Premier League, that is. And there's a lot of fashionistas gone in and out. You've got to win games. It's simple as that. It's just that the be-all and end-all is winning games. And the Forest fans, don't forget, they accepted a different way of working than the history of this club last season. It was very successful. So I think they're more open-minded now, of how many different ways you can try and win a game. Look at the fashion currently for set pieces. I was laughing. I did a podcast with Tony Pulis and Mick McCarthy. They asked me to do a pod. Tony's now being lauded for long throws. He's getting hammered. You know that. You all know it. He's getting hammered for long throws. And now he's being lauded for how they use long throws. It's the fashion of football. It changes all the time. And I'm not pontificating one way or the other. The bit that I like is when you win. Make no mistake, I want Nottingham Forest. I want this badge to be winning football matches. Way beyond my time. I want the club to win. That's the main thing. This badge is bigger than any manager, that's for sure. It's bigger than, there was one manager that's probably as big as the badge. We all know that was. They say, hey, young ginger, well done. But there's not many, only him, I would say.
Just one more from me. You said it was an easy decision to come here. Just wondered how much direct communication you had with the owner before deciding to come.
Yeah, I spoke to him and the people he thinks are important at the club about the prospect of it once the decision was made with the outgoing manager, and I spoke to him and he spoke very openly to me about the challenge. I think he is aware of the challenge. I don't think he thinks it's a gimme just because of last season. He does keep up with the stats and facts. He knows at the end of last season there was a challenging run where they didn't get as many points. So he's aware of that, and that's why they look to add to it, and add a bit more to try and keep building and try and keep moving forwards. So no, it was a good conversation. Obviously, I wouldn't be here. If it was a bad conversation, I certainly wouldn't be here, but it was a good conversation. And there was a reality to it as well.
Thank you, Pablo. Max for TalkSport, please.
Hi, Sean. Congratulations. Just on what you've been talking about there, you've spoken in the past on TalkSport about football moves in cycles, and we're seeing the return of the long ball. We're seeing Arsenal in particular being so successful.
Yeah, a couple of set-piece goals last night from Arsenal. Everyone's raving. Why wouldn't you? By the way, I'm not knocking. Why wouldn't you? It's part of the game to use set-pieces. Big part of the game.
Big strikers as well, return.
Yeah, I called that 3 years ago, but, I don't like to mention it.
So do you think that there's an argument that you were very much ahead of the curve in that regard?
No,
you're now an in vogue manager.
No. I've always just viewed football what I think is correct. I'm not bothered. I've been put in many boxes. I'm not bothered about that. I've never tried to talk my way out of one. Never tried to hide behind what I think is effective. It's just when it comes round your way a little bit, but right, that's what he's doing. That's all it is. But it's no badge of honour to me. I know what I believe in. I've been in the game since I was 16. I've had enough experiences to decide what I think is a good way of operating. It might not be the best way in everyone's eyes. That's up to them to decide. But I know how to operate in the Premier League, and I know what it takes in the Premier League. I know what the stats, the facts, the demand, the passing lines, the amount of passes that can be effective. They're the things that you need to know, and they're the things I'm trying to imprint onto the players. And if you can do it in an attractive way, every manager wants to. It's just ironic twist that now it's coming back round to set pieces are in vogue. And 5 years ago, people were going, why do you rely on set pieces? Now they're in vogue. That's just the way it goes. It's just a cycle. It's skinny jeans, flared jeans, skinny jeans, flared jeans. My daughter hammers me about whatever jeans I wear, so it makes no odds. I think I got a bit of stick about me for trainers, I believe, walking in the training ground on social media. I couldn't believe that. One of my mates let me know that, as they do. Tom Ford, but anyway, don't like to mention it.
You've spoken in the past about, and you just mentioned there about, perhaps yourself and other English managers being put in a box in terms of how they're perceived.
I haven't said about other English managers, I don't think, myself.
If that's the case, do you think that perhaps the opportunity you've got here at Forest, compared to other clubs you've been at where there have been constraints in terms of finances, you've seen the investment certainly in the playing staff around the stadium, in the training ground, do you feel that this opportunity is slightly different than the ones you've had before, and are you a little bit more excited
I have absolutely zero interest in myself at this football club. I have full interest in the club moving forwards, trying to get it back onto an even keel, at least to try and get it back to winning ways. No interest in me. I've been in it long enough. I've got fans of mine, got people who, you say they're not. I've got haters just from the way it is in football now. I've got no problem with it. This badge is bigger than me, that's for sure. So I'm just doing my bit as the best I can with my staff and the players to correct the current situation. If we can move it forward in style, that'd be brilliant. But as long as we can move it forward, as long as we can take it forward and take it to a better place, that's the start point. And the rest will look after itself, or I certainly hope it does.
Just lastly from me, funnily enough, I met your good mate Johnny Owen in the pub in Belsize Park last night.
It's impossible, he never goes in the pub.
He, of course, made that fantastic film, I Believe in Miracles.
He did.
Delighted for you. And obviously you were doing some work with Johnny Owen at TalkSport. How difficult was it to reject, to leave that behind and take the Forest job?
Really? With all due respect to TalkSport, I enjoyed my time on it, the shows we did do, but Nottingham Forest or TalkSport, really? Come on. Let's have it right. Yeah, come on, let's have it right. I was disappointed if that one was a close call. But no, the Miracle Men, I love them guys. I spent so many afternoons on a Thursday with them. The Thursday Club, we promoted that idea, me and Johnny, across the PFA, the LMA, saying, why are more teams not doing this? Why are more clubs not doing this? And I think it's a great incentive for clubs to put something very simple together. The Miracle Man, I was up seeing John Robbo, bless him. He's very poorly, but I was up seeing him the other week with Johnny and Vic, and these are legends of the game. I'm not a legend. I'm here to just play my part. And them guys are the real legends, and spending time with them and chatting with them. And trust me, I've got my own history. They've got a much deeper history than me, but now I've got a chance to be part of the history, and I'll take it. It's simple as that. I take it with pride. And let's see where we can take it as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Max. Chris for Sky News Radio.
Congratulations on your appointment, Sean.
Thank you.
There is a perception that you are a manager who comes into a club to try and keep them in the Premier League, not associated with winning trophies or challenging for titles. I appreciate you'll see yourself as a very ambitious manager yourself. So what do you see as realistic, achievable targets during your initial 2 years with the club?
Well, to be honest, I think most life is run on perception now. Most people would talk about the truth, not actually telling the truth. So that's fine. That's the way of life now, So I'm not bothered about that. I'm trying to be successful. I've always tried to be successful. But the first success you can be is being in the Premier League. I've worked 300 and odd games in the Premier League. You can't be lucky for all 330 games. It's impossible. So you've got to know your way around it. And then if you know your way around it, how far can you take it? That's the next challenge. We had, I've had spells in my career at other clubs which have been very, very strong spells. You know what I mean? To take a small club like Burnley up there and get into Europe was incredible. But that's all past me now. This is Nottingham Forest. This is bigger than all of that. Bigger than my history. That's what I said. It's not about me. It's about the club. For me to do the right thing by the club through, it's not just me, the staff, the team, the ownership, everyone. It's fell in an awkward place for the first time in a number of seasons. Now it's our job to find a way from that. So to start talking about winning this, winning that, we're going to play this way and that way. How about getting us winning first? Then we can talk about it maybe. But at the first point of call is, can we get this team to remember very quickly how it was finding wins? And can we add our own imprint on that? That's the challenge now. It's not about me. Perception is fine. Everyone can talk about whatever they want. And managers have become big in the Premier League. It's just the way it is. I remember it happening 10 or so, probably even longer than that, my second season of the Premier League, I think. They made it clear. They said a lot of the talk now is going to be about managers. Just so happened that little, that fella called Pep Guardiola came into the division and Jurgen Klopp, and then they went, right, it's about managers. And rightly so, two legends of the game. So, it's been a big change. But I don't want to talk about myself. I want to sit here talking about the team. I want to sit here talking as Nottingham Forest manager about a team being successful. That's the best place for me to be if we can get that.
Well, on that, do you regard it as potentially quite a fortuitous situation that you were out of work, it's quite early on in the season still, and you've inherited a squad?
But you know what? Someone actually wrote, sometimes I get flummoxed by what everyone thinks of what we do. Someone said in this article, which made they said, Sean Dyche moved here a number of years ago so that he could take the Nottingham Forest job. I was like, really? I bought a place in Barcelona, just in case you're wondering. I was like, really? I was like, I doubt it. You know what I mean? It's nothing to do with that. So that's how life changes very quickly. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't out of work and suddenly thinking, I got the Nottingham Forest job. But it's the shifting sands of football. Sometimes you don't look right for a job, and then a certain situation, and you do look right for a job. That's just the way it is. And we've all done it like that. We all do it. I'm sure when you're right and you look at certain jobs, that'd fit that manager or that one or that one. You look at another job and go, no, that wouldn't fit. And then 3 or 4 years later, it does fit. That's just a shifting sands of the nature of football. And I'm here. That's the key thing for me. Think of it what you want. I'm here. And I'm here to do a job.
But in terms of the squad itself, and people can look at your time at Burnley when you're in the second tier and played quite expansive football, you've got a squad with a couple of England internationals in, which Forest haven't had.
Very good players, yeah.
A whole host of internationals. Given your history and connection with the club as well, and your adaptability, this could be a match made in heaven. Well,
let's see. It's not definite. There's nothing given in football. But even when you're talking about players playing for England, just to give that example, they're playing a completely different style last year, but they're still getting the England setup. I had players at Burnley who went into the England setup. They should be very proud they're getting players in. Just using England as an example, I'm sure all the internationals are proud of their country, of course, but just using them as a case in point. Nottingham Forest getting players back in the England side, let's say. When I was here, it was Desi and, Nigel Clough, Stuart Pearce. It was a regular event, you know what I mean? And now that's how far the club's become over them years, you know what I mean? And there's been challenges along the way, of course, and there still is currently. But the club's moved a long way forwards. And I've got a chance to at least find our way through this sticky spell, hopefully, and then keep it moving forwards. But that's the key, just keep it moving forwards. And I think that's the challenge. The immediate challenge is to get it back on that even keel, as I said, at least to the fact we're very competitive. We can get wins and we can start the process again or restart the process. That was it very, very recently, don't forget. You know what I mean? It wasn't so long ago. The end of last season comes around. Everyone's defined it as a great side, great season, winning games. It's not far away. Football's never quite as good or never quite as bad. It's not far away, but we've got to make sure we get on the right side of it, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Questions from the writers, please, before we move to our Porto preview. Yeah.
I've missed them lights. How hot they are. Forgot about that.
Hi, Sean. Football management's such a full-on 24/7 job now, and as you just said, you've been out for 10 months. Saw some pictures of you the other week at a Kasabian gig, and you've done your media work.
By the way, I've got to clear that up, by the way, because this is brilliant. It's brilliant about social media. There was one picture of me with a group of lads, and it said, Sean Dyche come out the Forest game, and he's told us he's signed a contract. That was 3 weeks ago that picture was taken. I was with my daughter going for lunch, and she said, Dad, really? I went, yeah, I've got to do this picture. I mean, so it's one of them, innit? Well, how can you control that?
True. I just said you were on social
Well,
media
just
with
thinking,
Kasabian.
it wasn't last week. Trust me, it was about 3 weeks ago. But anyway.
But yeah, there's only so many podcasts and so much media.
Yeah.
Kasabian gigs you can go to, presumably. What were you?
Well, I don't know. I've been to a few. I might be for a while now,
10
mind
months
you. Yeah, go on, sorry.
And I just wondered how you sort of cope with that. What were you like to be around? What were you like 10 months out of football?
It's all right, I think. No, you work really hard in this job. Every manager, no matter what any media outlet or fan thinks, management is really tough at any level, by the way, but particularly at this level. To have a break from it, it's hard thing to explain. I tried to explain this. It's not like you lack an energy or anything. When you get a break from it, you can take a breath and do silly things that you want to do, not always deep things. Just spend a bit of time with your kids, with your mates. My kids are grown up now, but spend a bit of time doing life things, you know what I mean? See my mum and dad, they're 83 and 82. I've hardly seen them for years, really, of any real quality. Simple things. It's not always about gigs and all that, although I am partial. But I think that's going to calm down very radically, I think. I don't think I'll be going around Nottingham much because I don't blend well, let's say. So, I think I'll be keeping under the radar for a while. Apart from when I'm doing this, quite obviously.
Sean, I heard an interview with you about when you went into Burnley and you said there was kind of a misalignment, I think, where everyone in the boardroom wanted to cut back and fans thought you should be in the playoff. One of the keys was to kind of get it like that. How easy or difficult do you think that will be here, given it was relatively recently, they did have that alignment, but obviously there's been a bit of a fracture since then. How important is it to get it?
Yeah, but I was mentioning when I did an interview for Nottingham Forest TV yesterday, for our own media, I was mentioning this idea that I think there's a depth to the fans here, and I'm not just saying it, because I've been watching, I've been a kid here, and I've seen it over the years, the goods, the bads, the highs, the lows, all of it. And there's a small part of the fan base that will think, well, we're here now. But there's a deeper part that go, no, this is not a given. I think it's a reality. They know you can't just step from just getting in to the Premier League, then just staying in, then staying in just a bit better, and then suddenly going up there and that's it. It's a given forever. I don't believe that the fan base of Nottingham Forest think it's a given. So I think there's a bit of balance to that. And maybe the start of this season has reminded that part of the fan base where they've gone, actually, we knew we couldn't just keep doing that. But we can reinforce, so they tried to reinforce, and now it's getting the blend right to keep moving forwards. That's what I'm suggesting. It's just that there's a little slither of fan bases which are younger and they think it's all like this. Think it's all billionaire owned, and that we just move everything forward. I mean, I've seen enormous changes here. The owners had a bit of question marks over, but look at the changes from day one to now. They're huge changes at this football club. So, you can question the owner currently, which a few have, but at the end of the day, the bigger picture is a lot of goodwill, a lot of good feeling, a lot of good feeling around the area, the city, everything. So, there's a bigger picture to it.
Sure. Still on the owner, he's obviously a very ambitious man. I'm guessing he said more to you than this season's more.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you everything he said, of course.
But it's more than just keeping Forest up, isn't it? He wants a bit more.
No, he wants it to stabilise first. He's well aware of the challenges. He's been around football a long time, obviously with Olympiacos, then here. So stability is the next move, if you like. But that's not an acceptability for the whole run of being Nottingham Forest manager. I think we're all aware. Why? I don't want that. I don't just sit here and go, oh well, that's okay then. I always say to players, don't accept all rightness. All rightness doesn't get you anything. Let's push for more than all rightness. Maybe people can be all right in their life, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as a football manager, a football coach, a football player, you should be wanting more. But the first thing is, can we just stabilise the situation? I think everyone knows that. You guys have been writing about it for weeks, So then can you move it forward? But it still needs the basics putting back into the team, I think, from my point of view, this is. Because I think they're just, lost sight of that a little bit. So that's the start point. But no, of course, he wants more for Nottingham. He wouldn't do all this, if it wasn't for wanting more. But I think he equally is aware from the end of last season, if you look at the stats and facts, like I said, he does keep up with what's going on the pitch and all the story behind it. And they did have a tough run at the end of the season. Although it was a great season, let me remind you of that. And the blend of a season can be like that. But at the end, it was, a tough run. And someone was reminding me the other day, had 20 games without a clean sheet, that sort of thing. So there is work to be done. I think he's aware of that. And he's just saying to me, right, we want you to do the work. That's the manager's job. And he's right. That is mine, my staff's and the player's job to correct it and then see how far we can move it forward.
Sure, you'll still be able
to attend Thursday Club tomorrow? Maybe different.
I doubt it's. Yeah, I was going to say game day. I don't think I'll be attending it tomorrow. No, I'm looking forward to seeing the Miracle Men. You know, brilliant times. Them old stories and modern stories. They're up to date. They go, especially with this club, of course. The club do right by them. They come down and watch the game. So they give me a bit of ear rolling, I think, if things ain't going as well. So I better win some games for them because they'll give me a bit of stick. But no, it's great. Them guys mean a lot to me. You know, they've come to mean a lot. I've learned a lot about them, you know, over the last sort of 4 or so years. And Johnny's been a big part of that with his film and how he brought all that together. And I know there's a lot of Forest fans who really recognise the history of this club. I certainly do. I've got my own, and I've got a chance to reinvent my own, I suppose, in a way, and be manager and see what I can do with it.
I think you said yesterday in the club interview you don't want to sort of rely on history, I suppose, you and the staff for obvious reasons. How important is it for you to strike that kind of balance and maybe detach a little bit from you guys?
Yeah, well, I have to tell the story because we all have been touched by the club. But yeah, that doesn't, you know, there's no shortcut with the fans, but I have to tell the story. We do care. That's one thing I don't think would ever be questioned about being here. And I'm not questioning, that's no slant at others before you start changing words, not you personally, but there's always you know, I have a go at people. I'm not having a go at anyone. But with our history, particularly, you know, myself, because I was young, don't forget, all I was dreaming of was wearing the shirt, wearing the badge, you know, I never got to do it. Sonny Woney did. Billy did somewhat as a, you know, a sort of lone goalkeeper as cover. Tony wore it and scored a goal. I was the only one who didn't, actually. They keep reminding me of that. But, you know, so for me to have that part of it is a big thing for me personally. So I've got to explain that to people while I'm here, but it doesn't give me a divine right. Trust me, the fans will want me to win. If they ain't winning, they're going to come at me because that's the way fans work, and I've got no problem with that. That's the reality. But I think I should explain why it means more, because I was here as a kid and I never wore the shirt. Well, now I've got a chance to wear it, and now I sit with it on me. So it's not a bad situation.
Last one before we move to Porto.
How much of an impact did that era have on you when you were here? Did it shape even some of your football principles?
Well, in a different way it did, because, you know, you can't always play in the way that Brian Clough played with the players he had then. You know, people keep telling me about this modern way of playing, and I was describing this just the other day to someone, so, I mean, I'll recount it very quickly, but the goalkeeper, 2 centre-half split, the full-back split as wide as they can. If the goal can play out, he's encouraged to play out as quick as possible. Neil Webb comes deep to get the ball and he rotates. It's like, now they call it a pivot. Steve Hodges stretching the pitch. Brian Rice comes inside as an inside wing. Franz Carl stretches the pitch. Nigel Clough comes off the front in the false 9. And then Peter Davenport stretches the pitch, or Lee Chapman goes to hold up play higher up the pitch. That sounds pretty modern to me. But they tell me the game's radically changed. What's changed is the detail in the game. You know, the analytics, the health and fitness, the mental fitness of players, the support systems. But the game hasn't radically changed. The pitch is still the same size, roughly speaking. Do you know what I mean? The ball is still roughly the same, a bit lighter maybe, they tell me. But until that changes, the fundamentals of football will always be that. The new thing about set pieces, roughly down the years, you know, it's still about 25 to 30%, very roughly down the years. Hasn't changed that much. Crosses will be the new passing, because if you notice, no one, you know, we all watched England the other week, and everyone's looking at the TV going, please cross the ball. Because people will have to score a goal, and the more packed defences get, it's harder to play through. You know, things like that. So there's all these different ways of what happens in football. But, you know, all the demands of football are right there in front of us. So I don't get too carried away with the perception, don't get too carried away with all the other influences. The one thing I do know is football, and my staff know football, and the players are learning more and more and more about football. That's the job, but you've got to win. Make no mistake, you've got to win.
Thank you. Last one.
Sorry. It must give you an advantage that you know the club so well already then.
No, it just gives you a connection, because I don't know the club like the back of my hand. You know, I come here as a away manager more than anything. So, you know, I don't know everything about it. I've got to relearn some of it. But I do know the depth of it. I do know the depth of it with the people of Nottingham. I do know the depth of it with the people who have played for the club. Very rare you meet a player who hasn't been touched by this football club, I will tell you that. And I've met loads down the years. Some have been here very fleetingly, even young players. A few of my apprentice year have been reaching out to me. A couple I hadn't spoken to in years, reaching out to you, do you remember then? Because it meant a lot to them guys, as it did to me. We didn't all make it. Stoney did. I know Gary Charles, great fella, you know, what he did here as a young player, and Steve Chettle and all these people. There were so many when I was a young lad. So it means a lot to everyone. You know, and it is now, like I say, it's full circle, but it's not a gimme. So now, how many different ways can we try and move it forward? That's the challenge.
Thank you very much. OK, we'll move on to our FC Porto preview now and invite in Ryan Yates to join us.
I bet you can't wait,
Hi,
Daisy. I bet you can't wait.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, and we will
You take over now, kid. All right.
we will start again with broadcasters. Have you got the mic, Chris? No. Super. So we'll start again with Anton for Sky Sports News.
Hello again, Ryan.
How are we doing? All good?
Yeah, good, thank you. Look, can you just describe, from a player's point of view, the last 5 days?
Yeah, it's been
Brilliant.
yeah, it's been class last few days. Yeah, there's been a lot of change. Nothing that a few of us aren't accustomed to, and yeah, it's been really positive. Obviously, very early days, but yeah, excited for what's ahead.
Good. It's good. Well done.
How awkward is this having him right next to you?
Yeah, it's not ideal, to be fair.
Right,
I did tell him. I went all the best.
Mr. Forest, right? I know you've been on the high for the last couple of seasons, but how much has this season hurt, considering there was such expectations? Results haven't gone according to plan, managers have come and gone, and the atmosphere around the City ground has changed.
Yeah, it's been tough, and like I've said before, I think at the end of the day, it's our responsibility as players. More than anyone, we have to take responsibility. We haven't been good enough, and yeah, you can't pinpoint on an individual. We all have to take responsibility as a club, but we have a new opportunity now, and yeah, we're really excited to tomorrow night, hopefully getting off to a good start.
Training today and yesterday seemed louder, it seemed livelier, there was a lot of laughter. Is that kind of a relief? I know obviously you're working hard, I know you're prepping hard for this game, this huge game against Porto, but is there a sense of relief around?
I'm just marvelling at sitting there watching these answers. I can't wait.
Yeah, well, look, I feel like a massive strength of this football club is getting that connection between the fans, the players and the manager. And let's be honest, the last few weeks we haven't had a good feeling around here. The City ground hasn't been as lively, and yeah, the new manager, his coaching staff, especially Stephen, Ian, yeah, they've come in and yeah, they've brought that new sense of life, that energy, and yeah, we'll see what happens, and yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
Can I just say, in respect to the players, before I got here, I got told that, by the way, I mean this sincerely, about the squad of the players here have never really made any misrepresentation of the manager. I've been told that by a lot of people. Whenever they get asked, no, us as players have got to take more responsibility. And there's a great value to a manager when groups of players do that. And that's not just Yates here, but I've heard that a lot, about the group. When people have asked, they go, no, we've got to take responsibility first. And, it's a great thing for a manager to hear that when players are honest enough to go, look, the manager can take us so far, that's their job. But for players to take responsibility, I think that's a real big thing. So there's definitely an honesty amongst the group here. Sorry to interrupt, but I think that's important.
Do you feel a sense of trust already?
Well, it's early, yeah. I'd like to think they do their own work. I'd like to think they know enough people in the game and ring around. I've let them wear white socks, for goodness sake. I never let anyone wear white socks. I would have my ex-players caning me, WhatsApps going, Gaffy, you got white socks on. Fair, innit? Not allowed to wear snoozer outside. I had to do a deal somewhere, you know what I mean? Sorry to interrupt.
No.
Can I ask you a team news question? We didn't see Chris Wood out there training today. We know he's been struggling with a knee problem.
Yeah, Ollie's got a longer term situation, I think, it's already out there. And Woody's got a knock. We're wondering whether it's going to settle down, probably touch and go at the moment, because it does need settling down. He's been off the grass, so we're going to have to touch and go and see how that one is.
So is he for tomorrow?
Her back was injured as well, but we'll find out more news on that.
Is the touch and go for tomorrow, Chris Wood?
Yeah, we'll see how he is, yeah. Sorry, Yates.
Go for it.
Owen, BBC.
All right, those Forest connections with Sean, with the rest of the coaching staff, how important are they, do you think?
Yeah, I think very important. I think probably since Roy Keane and Martin O'Neill were here, we haven't had a coaching staff who have that connection. And I feel like when they were here, I feel like they just understand what the club's about, the culture, what makes it tick, and yeah, obviously they know the club straight away, and you'd like to think that's going to help the players. And yeah, I think it just, like I said before, I think it just brings the fans closer to the players on the pitch. And yeah, we're looking for anything we can, and every little 1%. And yeah, I certainly think that's going to help.
And how are you feeling ahead of tomorrow, another big occasion at the City ground?
I think it's so exciting. I know we said before we'd even kicked a ball in the Europa League that we're back in Europe for the first time in many years, and yeah, that buzz obviously didn't get the result we wanted at home against Midtjylland, and yeah, a team who have a lot of quality in Porto. It's going to be a tough game, but what an opportunity to get a result and kick things off in the best way possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Marco for RTP. Do you have a question, Mark?
Hello, I would like to ask you what do you expect from your team realistic for tomorrow game, and what do you expect for the FC Porto team?
Well, Porto have had a great start. We know they're unbeaten in the league and in Europe, so they're obviously a good outfit. We know that. We've done some work with the players. It's been difficult to cram a lot of work into the players, but I think they've been very receptive so far and open-minded. And probably some are just reminders of what they've done well as well. I've spoke openly before. I explained to them the pride I took of being on the outside of their group last year watching them, because I thought the way they went about it was fantastic. Nothing to do with style, but the mentality. I was saying about the players, the connection they have with each other as a group. As a manager, if the culture and environment are right, that's a big step forward. And I don't think it's far wrong. My point is, they've there's a glue that holds these lads together, and you can feel it. And now, if we can just play our part in maybe just shifting it and sort of shaking it into our liking, and they respond, then we've got a good mixture. But yeah, so I'd expect the team to go out there and be on the front foot and take the game on. With a high energy sort of towards getting a result. I think that's the minimum we can expect of each other. But they are a good outfit. We know that. We've shown the team some analysis. We know the record they've got so far this season. But here at the City Ground, we think we want to build a mentality where we can take anyone on, and certainly they've shown that over the last season, certainly, where they'll go wherever it is and take the team on, and we want that mentality to be firm.
Thank you, Marco. Chris for Sky News Radio.
Ryan, you've spoken of how difficult it's been this season so far, and obviously over the last week or so. In terms of tactically and what you're taking on board from different managers, obviously third manager of the season, is that difficult for a group of players to go from one style to another, and then obviously on your third manager of the season to take that on board as well?
I think I could say, it's very difficult, but I think as a player at this level, I think you have to be able to take information on board very quickly. Obviously, only been here a few days, but we have to be quick. We need results. We're in a results business. We're in a bad run of form, and like the manager just said, we want to make the City Ground a fortress. I think the best teams, when they're on good runs, they're solid. They're hard to beat at home, and we need to get back to that. We've been conceding too many goals at the City Ground. And like I say, it's early days, but you have to take that information on board quickly and get results quickly.
In terms of a group of players as well, obviously securing Europe for the first time in 30 years as a club, this could be a huge opportunity for you to get some points in the group phase. Are you keen to ensure that this opportunity doesn't pass you by and too many fixtures go by before you can actually make a real statement in Europe?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we have to see this as an opportunity to go and grab it. If we see Porto, they're on a great run, it's going to be a difficult game. It's going to be a difficult game, but we want them to be thinking, wow, they're going to be right up for this. When the whistle blows, we need to give absolutely everything, give the crowd that lift, and make sure no games going forward pass us by. I remember last season how quickly we were at Christmas. And the position we were in, and I feel like it was sort of this stage of the season where you think you're just getting underway, and then suddenly you're at Christmas, and we can't let any games pass us by, and we have to see every game as an opportunity.
And Sean, how much importance do you place on your start? Because your predecessor in his first home game in charge had his own supporters calling for him to be sacked. So do you think you need to start in the best possible?
I'm not going to question, as I said, the managers and their situations or relationships with the fans. All I want from the team is to express themselves. I want them to be out there playing for Nottingham Forest. I want them to be on the front foot. I want them to. They're all old-fashioned things, but they're real. The front foot mentality has been there ever since I was in the game. But everyone knows what it means. Strangely, it seems such an odd phrase, but everyone knows if you say front foot mentality, everyone will paint a picture in their minds of what a team is. And it's that, effervescence to a team, out of possession, pressing, the energy to press, but the cleverness to press. When's the right time to press? In possession, can you play? Can you break the lines? Can you open up the game? Transition, how quickly can you react to attack? How quickly do they react to attack and you defend? You know, there are all these things. But to encapsulate that is a performance. And when the whistle blows, we want them to have the knowledge to go and express themselves and go and play on all them things that I've just mentioned. We're cramming, but I think the group have been very, very receptive. So we're just trying to give them what we can give them, but inevitably the whistle blows and it's down to them guys to go out and deliver. That's what we're looking for, but deliver with that edge. You know, they've shown it. They've shown it very recently, especially last season, of course, the edge that it is to win games. That's what we're after. Just remind them that edge is important.
And finally, just when you speak to supporters, there is an extra buzz when it comes to European nights. Do you sense that from the squad and yourself? Do you get...
yeah, well, like I said earlier, Woney and Stone, they played in the last European game there, didn't
Yeah,
they?
just
Stoney
told,
scored.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Class.
I know, exactly. He never mentions it. So, you know, them guys know how it feels. It's new to me here, so I've got to experience that. But what a great experience to be. You know what I mean? Back at Nottingham Forest as a manager, and then a European night. You know, that's a great occasion. Now, of course, it doesn't feel great if you don't get the right result. It's like Yates said, we're going to go out there with the right energy levels, the right commitment levels, and also the quality of the freedom to show you quality. And we want all that on the show. That's what we're looking for.
Thanks, Chris. Katerina, CNN.
Hi, for Ryan. I don't know if Morato, maybe Jota, ever told you about the charisma that Porto has. Is very specific, maybe lost in the last season, but now I think it's maybe recovered. Have they told you about that?
No, they haven't, to be honest. Yeah, obviously Jota's not here with us now, but no, they haven't said anything. I think we're fully aware of the quality that they possess, and yeah, can't give too many secrets away, but yeah, we know we're a good team.
Thank you very much. Any more questions from the floor, please?
Sean, I just wonder, you obviously had a pretty successful season in Europe with Burnley, and it was their first time in Europe for donkey's years. I just wonder what your memories of that were, and bearing in mind how it ended and who it ended against, whether you had a chance to reminisce with your new owner about that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we had a bit of a giggle about it. No, I mean, you know, it was a different thing then. It was a surprise package, you know. Well, I suppose in a way this has been a surprise with the power that these guys shown last season to get there. It was such an enormous thing at that stage. I will say, I think, you know, this club's more geared up, the depth of the squad, the facilities, everything. You know, Burnley at that time, it came too quick, really. It was, you know, it was such a new experience. The players were all almost in a confuddlement of how many different ways we've got to travel, how many different ways we've got to, you know, prep and all them things. I think, you know, these guys know this in Europe for the first time in a long time, but, you know, there's a lot of European players here, a bit more open-minded to it all. So I think that's a different thing. But no, I remember them days, and it was important to me in my career and to learn all about that. But you need the luck of the draw. The draw's different here. You know, playing one of the time. There's a really long name I can't even say, one of the Turkish sides, and it's travelling overnight, not getting into bed till 6 in the morning and that sort of thing. Then having to fly down to London and play against, I think it was Fulham. It's a whole different ball game when you're doing that. You know, the draw here is different. You know, you can be back quite quick. The players recover and all that sort of thing. So it all plays its part.
And have you forgiven the owner for the away game?
There's no forgiving, we just had a laugh about it. But we did tell a story to each other and we both laughed about it.
Any more?
Sure, not too many managers have their first game, such a big important European occasion as this. You've not had long to prepare for it. Does that heighten the excitement?
No, I mean, ideally you'd have longer, of course, and the players get longer to get used to you. In the ideal world, which is not in Football Manager, you have a whole pre-season. Every manager would like, in the perfect world, every manager goes in on day one of pre-season, they get 6 weeks or whatever to work with the players, of course. But football management is not often like that. You know, you often come into a situation where it's awkward times or not such good times or a changeover in the club, the hierarchy of the club, or whatever it may be. Ownership can change. So it's rare that you get the perfect scenario. Some more days would be helpful for me, the staff and the players, but as I said, the players have been great so far. I'm not just saying it, they've been very open-minded, very responsive to what we've offered. The work we did today, simplifying some of the basic principles of what we want to do, so we don't want to overload them with too much information, but enough information where they've got enough to know what we're going to do and what we're going to, well, certainly what we're going to look to do. Well, like I say, every manager will tell you, when the whistle blows, that's the hardest bit to control. So get them in the right frame of mind, the right organisational understanding, but also take the shackles off and go and play. That's the ideal way. But like I say, the whistle will blow and we'll see.
Last one, Sarah.
Ryan, how much have you and the group felt it these last few home games, particularly you mentioned about the atmosphere? How much did it kind of impact you and conversely, how much can it go the other way
Mhm.
if we want a fresh start as well tomorrow for the Europa League game?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I said straight after the game the other day we were getting clapped off after a 3-0 home defeat, and I think really that's quite humbling for the players. I feel like walking in after that, a few of the lads were saying we owe it to the fans. Whatever happens, whatever decision the club makes moving forward, we owe more because that's unacceptable. And it's not a nice feeling, and I think at the end of the day we owe it to them after a poor start to give even more for the badge, to work even harder. And we owe it to the club to start picking up results as soon as we can, because when you've got that buzz at the City Ground, we can't lose the sight that we're in Europe, that we've got an incredible opportunity. And when we get them results, when we get that result tomorrow night, it's going to be special. It's going to really kickstart our season, and we're really looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Sound. Cheers, Gaffer.
Thanks, Ryan.
Am I staying here or are we going elsewhere?
We've got
We're going
three
elsewhere.
more short ones.
Yeah, we're going elsewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks for that.
No, it's always important.